Joining us now, Democratic strategist Amisha Cross, a former campaign advisor to President Obama, and Republican strategist Melik Abdul, who worked in the George W. Bush administration. Thank you both for being here. Melik, the Republicans who are facing some of this pushback over DOGE aren't just in swing districts. Some of these are deep red areas. How serious of a problem is this politically for the GOP?
Well, Anna, first of all, thank you for having me. So there are a couple of things happening here. It is one thing for members of Congress. I live here in Washington, D.C., and we only have one non-voting member of Congress. They don't have to answer to anyone in Washington, D.C., but they do have to answer to their constituents at home. And I think what you're probably beginning to see, especially as we get close to the launch of the midterm cycle for next year, you'll probably see as the more people hear that maybe a neighbor, maybe someone at their church, because there's this assumption that federal government jobs are isolated to the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area, when most federal jobs are outside of this area. So I think that Republicans are going to start hearing more, and they probably will then begin to pressure the White House to do something or intervene in some way, because their midterm elections obviously are on the line when Donald Trump doesn't have to run again.
Yeah, right now we aren't seeing that kind of pressure coming from the ground up. In fact, we were reporting at the end of last week that White House is not feeling under pressure whatsoever. But Amisha, we have seen some comparisons to those town halls that got fiery back in 2009 that eventually led to the rise of the Tea Party. So how do you think Democrats should harness this energy?
I think Democrats should assist in the organizing in the states. Also be attentive to the fact that, to a point Melik made, actually over 80% of federal employment is outside of the D.C. area, meaning that those individuals are employed in the state. When I worked for the EPA, I worked for the EPA Region 5 in the city of Chicago, not in D.C. When we talk about the backbone of the middle class, the overwhelming majority is because of government work. And the fact that I think most people have to understand what government does. Like, there's this drain the swamp mentality from the Republicans. There is this anti-system sentiment that exists across voters of multiple parties. But when you talk about this outside of the system itself, when you talk about what it does for your daily life, we're talking about things like Head Start and early learning for your children. We're talking about healthcare administrations. We're talking about Medicaid for individuals who are going to be affected there. We're talking about the everyday services that are provided by the government that will no longer be able to provide it should this slash and dash of DOGE continue to happen. I think that Democrats have to message what it means in real terms for everyday people, but also go to where it hurts Republicans the most, the Deep South. Those individuals in those plus 18 Republican districts are going to be the key to actually seeing something change, because midterms are just around the corner. And if those voters are losing essential services, if they're losing their lifelines, they're going to need somebody to blame, and they're going to point to their districts. And those district leaders are going to need to try to save themselves. And to save themselves, they're going to have to put forth an effort to stop what's going on right now. DOGE, Elon Musk is an unelected official. He's not worried about approval ratings. But guess who is? Those Republicans in those plus red districts.
So the question is, are these constituents connecting when they're speaking out? Melik, our NBC affiliate in Philadelphia, talked to an IRS worker who supported Trump and was just fired. Take a listen.
I did support him. I was a Trump supporter. You know, when he talks about government waste and all that, yes, I'm behind it. I thought that someone with like his business acumen would have come in with a fine-tooth comb and actually found it, instead of coming in with a wrecking ball and destroying people's lives for no reason.
And then you hear from Republicans openly mocking people who are expressing concern about these cuts. Here's Ohio's Jim Jordan.
I grabbed this headline, National Parks in Chaos after today's Washington Post story. Here's the first paragraph. California National Park, a Trump administration fired the only locksmith on staff. Next sentence, he was fired. He was the sole employee with keys and institutional knowledge needed to rescue visitors from locked restrooms. Now, if that isn't, I mean, that's the best you can do.
We just heard from that IRS worker talking about lives being destroyed. Melik, are Republican leaders listening to their constituents?
I think they're listening, but this is also part of the game that's played on television. You have to stick in your own corner. You can't give any ground on anything, because if you do, then the other side will use what you said against your side. So this is what you're seeing from politicians. This is an issue, and that's why I was mentioning earlier. It's not just federal government workers living in the DMV. You didn't hear Jim Jordan respond to a Trump voter just like that person. And I think the more, if media starts asking these specific things, because the majority of Americans agree when it comes to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse wherever they find it, it is how they're going about it. And so you're hearing more and more people saying, what about the scalpel that you should take as opposed to the sledgehammer? So I get why Republicans and many people, if I were in a different position, maybe getting paid by the administration or something, I would say something differently. But the reality is that when we're at a time where eggs are $8.99, the same economic anxiety that led people to go to the polls in support of Donald Trump, it still exists. Mm-hmm. And if they're not hearing enough on the economy, where a lot of the focus is on DEI or people just losing jobs simply because they work in an industry that many Republicans say you don't have the right to be there. I think that the more members hear from their constituents, because it's still early, midterm cycle hasn't even begun yet. But once we get into those summer months, I think we'll probably be having a different conversation, especially if Elon Musk is not gone after this 130 days or so that I believe a special in government employee can serve.
When it comes to the kitchen table, when it comes to the economy, I have to imagine unemployment is going to be an issue. Amisha, the president posting on social media that he would like Elon Musk to be even more aggressive with his cuts. How do you think that would land?
I think it's going to land hard, and Trump is going to fall flat on his face. He believed that by putting Elon Musk in front of DOGE and having them produce these massive cuts, circumventing Congress, that any instigation of upset would slide off of Donald Trump and direct itself towards Elon Musk. And what he's finding in town hall after town hall, and I think as the months go on and as we get into that back to school cycle where parents are really finding it difficult to afford everyday items, in addition to, his tariff plan, things are going to get extremely difficult. Trump rode the wave of saying that he had a great economy, saying that he had great business strength, and he was going to be able to continue to, mount jobs and access for people across this country. And a lot of Americans bought it, regardless of what side of the aisle they're on. They're discovering in real time that they are finding out right now that was never his plan. When you elect oligarchs, multi-billionaires, and they elect or unelect their cronies to be a part of this, speaking of DOGE, you get what you get. These are people to enrich themselves in their own wealth off the backs of everyday working Americans. The working class is going to feel the crunch. Many of them are going to be unemployed. Many more are going to be underemployed, and several are not going to be able to afford the basic cost of living. Welcome to the Donald Trump 2025 agenda.